AC/DC's new album, Power Up, is out now everywhere worldwide, and Angus Young gave a new interview, a heartfelt interview about his brother, Malcolm. Plus, Lars Ulrich is responding to the haters who say he's actually not that good of a drummer. He leaves it all out there on the field and says he doesn't care what anybody thinks. We got a lot to get to today. Stick with us. Good afternoon and welcome to Rock Feed. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates. Well, Lars Ulrich has had it with the haters out there who are basically coming at him and saying he's not that talented of a drummer or his drumming style is too simplistic. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. Before we get to that, a word from one of our sponsors. Today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at Surfshark. You ever start talking to your friends about something you want to order online and then all of a sudden it shows up in your ads for weeks and weeks and you just feel dirty like you're being tracked? Or you're traveling and you want to watch one of your favorite shows on Netflix like me when I was traveling out of the country. I wanted to watch The Office and I couldn't get it until I fired up Surfshark and I was able to say I was in the USA and I had no problem logging into the US version of Netflix. Well, our friends at Surfshark are big fans of the show and they're big fans of metal, and they wanted to give you guys a very special offer. I said, look, this is too kind of you guys, maybe tone it down a notch, but they said, no, we're going for it. We're going to give them 83% off and then 3 free months on top of that if they use code ROCKFEED at the link in the description of this video and up on your screen. Too bad, snooping social media companies. With Surfshark, my browsing is my business. So, Lars Ulrich was asked in the So What Metallica fan club magazine about what he thought about people who are always commenting on his drumming ability. We've got this article from Blabbermouth here. Apparently, he was asked in the So What fan club magazine what, it's like getting that level of hate from people. He says, unlike years ago, I basically don't read any of the interviews that the other guys in Metallica do. 20 or 30 years ago, we would all sit and read every page of Kerrang and every page of Circus Magazine, So What, so forth, and so saying this about the other band members were saying, what James was saying about this and that. Now there's just none of that. I also don't really read what people say about Metallica. I'll say that occasionally, once every 6 months or something like that, it's kind of fun to go through the trolling section just because of the ridiculousness of it all. But it's something that I don't regularly do anymore. 20 years ago, it would have been, oh my God, somebody said something like that, or that person left a nasty comment in the comment section or whatever. Now, none of that really means anything to me. The interviewer asked that he thinks it's really pathetic when he sees people blaming Napster on him. He says, but I'm so over. I'm really immune to it. We just do a bunch of interviews, and sometimes if I'm being interviewed by a journalist who is also a fan, they'll say, when people say Lars is a shitty drummer, I defend you, which is cool. But I've got to tell you, 20 years later, 30 years later, it just doesn't register anymore. I'm so comfortable with who I am. I'm so comfortable with who Metallica is. I'm so comfortable with our place in all of it. I've got an incredible wife, 3 great kids, my dad and his partner, Molly, incredible friends, and lots of cool acquaintances. It's all good. I've got nothing left to prove, so it just doesn't register with me. And Metallica recently performed live over the weekend. They had their All Within My Hands Foundation acoustic set. Let me know what you guys thought of the set in the weekend if you happen to tune in and catch it. Plus, we've got a new interview with Angus Young from AC/DC. As I mentioned earlier, their new album, Power Up, is out now everywhere. And Angus Young's brother, Malcolm, who was also a prolific member of AC/DC, passed away back in 2017 from causes related to dementia. And he was interviewed by 60 Minutes Australia and had a lot to say about losing his brother, and he paid a very powerful tribute to his brother. He says one of the hardest parts about it, though, was seeing that decline.
I think the hardest part was not so much in passing, because that was a kind of end, the relief. I think the worst part's the decline. That's the hard part, because of how you knew him, and then to see that was gone, But he was, I would say, even to the end, he was still, if I was there, he had from here to here, he had a big smile. And I think that was probably well, for me, that always gave me a kind of joy, even though he was in that state. That was always the joy of it.
Again, the new album Power Up by AC/DC is out everywhere now. We've got a new interview out from System of a Down guitarist Darren Malakian about the new songs they released, Protect the Land and Genocidal Humanoids, to benefit the Armenia Fund. They've raised over $600,000 for that cause. And speaking in this interview with Guitar World, he says about whether or not there would be new System of a Down music. He says, look, I never say never. We didn't even know this was going to happen. I was on my way to releasing these songs with Scars on Broadway. Then the situation in Armenia happened, and we put our differences aside. Personally and outside the band, everybody gets along reasonably well. There's no hate for each other in System of a Down. We're like a family. A lot of people think, oh, Serge and Darren don't get along. And no, that's not true. Serge and Darren get along just fine. But Serge and Darren, or Chavo and Serge, different people in the band will have different ideas of how they want the band to move forward. That's kind of where disagreements are at. I never say never, but at the same time, I'm not expecting to do any more with System of a Down right away or immediately after this. It really does seem like our fans like these new songs. That's important to me. That's what it's all about, inspiring people and future generations to continue the art, the spirit, and the evolution of rock and roll. We've added 2 new songs to the System catalog that are on level with everything else we've ever put out, and our fans accept it that way, which means a lot to me, which kind of means we're going to leave it for now. If more happens later on, then we'll talk about that. But for now, we'll continue doing what I'm doing, and everyone else just continue doing what they're doing. It's all cool, though. It's really pleased with the response we got. It's great news to hear, and certainly leaves things open for future System of a Down releases. Remember, they're still playing live, too. So we don't have a new album. We got 2 new singles. And we got live music from System of a Down. Whenever these shows come back, they're performing live. So really, what is there to complain about at this point about these guys? It's great news. Also, folks, if you have a question for the show, you can record a message at the link in the description of this video. Send that in, and it may be played on the show, and I may respond to your question. So leave a question at the link below. And that is all for now. Thanks so much for joining me today and every day at Rockfeed. If you're new here, again, be sure to subscribe with notifications on, so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates. Thanks so much for joining me today and every day. We'll see you all very soon.